Welcome back. This, of course, is K24 this morning, getting up close and personal. And our guest today is one who, by profession, shies away from the limelight. She always makes sure her clients are there, her projects are there, and she's busy in the background making the calls, making sure everything is working nice and proper. In fact, usually, on a typical day, she would be in studio, right behind probably this camera, making sure her client has done the right thing, said the right statement and all of that. But right now, we're just bringing up the curtain and finding out what goes on behind the scene and talking to a publicist who you've probably seen or heard of her magic in what she's doing. We're talking about Anyiko Owoko. Of course, she's the founder of Anyiko PR, behind very many brands, and we'll be talking about how this journey began and, more importantly, where it's going. She's also been on the show as a panelist when we were doing the news review on Fridays. Welcome back,
asante
stranger.
Sana. It's great to be back here.
And it's interesting because for some people who probably knew in this particular space as a PR specialist, they don't know that there's a time back you were having your own microphone, busy on this side of the table doing the questioning.
Yeah, man. And also what I realized, like, there's some careers I think you can quit, and then there's some you really can't. Because I thought I quit like radio, I quit TV, but then it's so addictive because I just be missing it and watching you guys on TV, and I'm like, I wish Jeff could have asked this person this question. So now I recently opened my show on YouTube, which is called VIP Access with Anyiko. And I'm calling it VIP Access because I'm showing my fans and my followers the access behind the scenes of the work I do. And it's not like you where you're super organized, like you know who you're going to interview tomorrow, next week. For me, I'm just doing it on the go. So if I'm working with an artist and I'm spending the day with them, I'm just going to interview them and put it on my YouTube. So sometimes I'm not going to say like I'm interviewing Jeff because I'm working with him and we're doing this, but I'm just going to be talking to you about like your life, your journey. So it's really hard to leave this business. Like you're never going to leave.
And it's interesting you say that because for you, you always knew that this was the line of trade you wanted. Back from campus, you did your journalism knowing that this is it, this is where I want to go.
Definitely. I really wanted to be in media, and even when I think about my retirement plan, it's probably just going to be media related. I probably want to be like living somewhere, making money and getting paid to like write articles and stuff like that. So I will never not love, media and journalism, but I have to say I ended up in PR just because I saw that there was an opportunity to do PR, especially for artists and for entertainers. And it's also a business, like right now we're really talking about unemployment in the country and just so many things. And I just thought it would be wise for me to come out of employment and like into self-employment. So those are some of the reasons. I just feel like the hardship of this country, of this city, of this industry, led me to this. This wasn't my plan. No.
And let's talk about the previous plan before you realized there's a gap here and I can step in. When you got into the media, was that the plan when you started hosting your entertainment show?
Oh my God, it was always a plan. And I was so happy. And it was just the best, I would say 10 years in my life and 7 years on TV. I just really loved it because when I was growing up, I grew up in a small town, Molo, and I'm not a city girl. So I used to watch TV and, wish I would be there or wish I would meet some of the people I would see on TV. So I had dreams of coming to Nairobi and meeting the likes of Nameless, Jua Kali, Issa, And so when I came to Nairobi and actually started meeting these people and thankfully got a job in the industry and got that type of access, it was really a dream come true for me. And when you come from a small town, only a few people, kind of make it from the small towns. And so the few who have, like, they're celebrated and they're known. And I'm so happy to be raising, like, Molo's flag high and Molo people saying, we know her, she's a Molo girl. Even Sophie Kenya is from Molo. Yeah.
Okay. Queens from Molo doing their thing, we see.
Yeah, so that was the plan. I really loved it. And I think every lesson that I learned or everything that I experienced while I was working on TV and on radio really led me to where I am today. If I wasn't having to interview artists and see, oh, something is missing, there's a gap, I would never have wanted to do the PR. So it kind of gave me the groundwork of just researching about my industry. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm where I am and I've had some success so far, is because I'm just not an ordinary PR person. I already come from the media background, so I know media people, or I know how to approach a story also the media-centric way. Yeah.
And as you say that, because there are very many graduates of the same university you went to, University of Nairobi, who probably want to get into media, want to host the show you are hosting as well. How did you get your foot into the door? You know, because so many people, they've dropped their demos, their CVs, their cover letters, and the call doesn't come back.
Okay,
how did you get in?
The truth is, I can be really annoying. I can be really annoying because and then also I can be a stalker. I think those are some of the characteristics of PR people. So you just need to know how you can be annoying and a stalker the good way, because it can get annoying. Like if you want something, you have to research and find out what you want. You have to target it, and then you have to reach out to it, and you have to make sure you deliver on whatever you want.
Right.
So I had already targeted this show. Like I wanted to host this show on the station that is close to this station.
Right.
And so I just found out who the producer is, and I saw his name at the credits, and then I would just kind of notice the type of shows and places they go, and I was like, they usually go to Allianz for gigs and go to Institute. So I would just actually go to the Allianz and go to Institute and just be waiting. And when I would see a camera crew, I'd be like, could you guys be coming from this show? Do you know this man called Mr. Jeff? And they're like, yeah, what do you want? And I was like, I just want to ask him for a job. And they're like, he's our producer and you're probably never going to see him.
Right.
And so I would keep doing that until one day he was around and I met him and I just told him, I think I want to host your show and I think I'm going to do a better job because I'm younger. I have all these ideas. So that's how it started. And I would just be calling him, texting him, calling him, texting him. And it was like, somebody's already hosting the show. So what happened is when the lady who was hosting the show before me had to leave, he called me among the people who were being kind of auditioned. And I never really saw any other person being auditioned because when I went there, it was only me. And after that, they're just like, you got the job, we'll be training you. And very soon you're going to be starting. And at that point, I think I was in my second year, or rather maybe my last year of, my last semester of the first year of university, or maybe second year, I can't really remember. But even when I was telling my mom, like, I just got this job on TV, she was like, yeah, right. You know, so I just go for it. I think a lot of people, you know, bring their songs and write CVs and stuff, and it's not enough just to present a CV or just to present your case. Right. How many times can you present your case? You know, I find that a lot of young people give up quite easily. You know, they're like, I don't have a job and I've applied for 5 jobs. Like, if I tell you what I have to go through for my company to be running, like, I think out of every probably 6 proposals we write, we get only 2 or 1. You know, and you put your heart, soul, time into each one of the proposals, but you can't really look at it as if I'll never get another one or I've been wasting time. So I honestly got to where I am today because I never gave up on myself and I never stopped asking. Like even when I was told no, I just kept on asking. And I thank my mentor, the person who discovered me, Mr. JB Ohaga. You know, a lot of people know him in the industry. He produces for a lot of shows and he's done a lot. I thank that man because he really, really, really helped me.
And for a person who stalked her way into this particular show, did it for over half a decade.
Yes.
What made you realize, okay, fine, it's time for me now to move on and follow this gap that I've been seeing. It's time for me to call it quits.
Yeah.
I've done my bit.
I think the reason why I wanted to move on is because 7 years is quite a long time, and it's just like 7 years of consistently doing something. And so for me, the question was like, what am I doing that is different? You know, I was already doing something that was established. People knew me, artists knew, oh, that lady, she's going around and like hosting people or interviewing people and featuring shows that are happening. I felt like I was part of the team that was documenting Nairobi and Kenya's arts and culture scene for some time. And I was just like, okay, so how long am I going to be doing this? So I think I had to leave because I just craved for something different. And I really wasn't getting that. And I feel like in the media scene in Kenya, a lot of media professionals are jumping from station to station because of more money or I don't know what, but I didn't want to have to jump from one station to another because I'm being offered more money, but I just wanted to jump from that station to something that's going to be more impactful. So, you know, leaving there and now starting to do PR, I feel like I'm doing stuff on a larger scale because when I used to be on TV, you know, I could interview one artist and that's it. But now if I have one artist, I can actually present this one artist to so many media opportunities and not just in Kenya, but beyond the globe. So I just feel like if I'm working on projects which I've put my heart and soul, or projects which are going to change the society, or something interesting, I just have more reach. And for me, that gives me so much more gratitude. Yeah.
Let's talk about one act that almost became synonymous with Anyiko. Those 4 boys who are a handful to handle.
Yeah.
I've seen you trying it and I'm like, wow,
Oh
these
my.
boys can test the best of anybody.
Yes.
Sauti Sol.
Yeah.
How did you convince them from a friendship level that, okay, fine, I don't want to be your friend anymore. I want to take this role and I want us to do this seriously.
I never really convinced them. They were convincing me that I can do all these things for them, because I wasn't really a PR person from the beginning. I was just like their friend who's a media personality or media personality wannabe. I was always writing from an earlier time or age, and so I was always a great writer, and they would just be like, why don't you write some of our stories? Why don't you write our bio? Why don't you interview us and stuff, because they just felt like people aren't really understanding who we are. Every time they would read something about them, they're like, this is not who we are, but Anyiko knows who we are. So it just started as a friend helping their friends, and they'll keep adding on a load onto me, like, we know you can do this. And they always believed in me, like, they always said you have the power to get whatever you want. You have the power to convince anybody, anything. So they just kept on pushing me. And after several years, we were like, okay, what have we been doing? And they were like, we think you've been our publicist, so you are officially our publicist. Because I did everything. I was like on the road as a tour manager. I was like an assisting manager of sorts. I was like a publicist. All their first videos, I came with my clothes and my friends and my makeup and put on my friends like Lazizi. All those are like my best friends. Sunny Days, the same. So I was just like doing everything. And yeah, that's how it started.
Wow, what a start. and to see how that relationship evolved.
I know, right? And because of how we started, they appreciate me and I appreciate them. And that's why even though we're not together until today, like people still call me to ask for stuff. Like when people can't find them or can't get them to do something, like they just call me, and we still have that relationship, and I always know where they are. Like even recently somebody called me, it was like, I'm on radio now and I want to interview Sauti Sol about something they're not picking, and I was just like, they're in Lagos, they just travel. So I always know, like they'll always tell me where they are, what they're doing, and I wish them well.
Wow. Let's talk about Anyiko PR as well, because now this is the new phase of what you're pushing, your baby that you've really pushed to a different level. What's it about when people see that signature every single time, Anyiko PR? What's it about? Okay,
so Anyiko PR is my PR company, and I'm very sorry to call it Anyiko PR. I really didn't have a better name, I swear. Like I just tried and I had all these name suggestions, and my friends didn't like all these suggestions. So I really had to just call it Anyiko PR because I needed to proceed, with the registration of the business and everything you need to do to set up a legit business. So I just didn't have a better name.
Right.
But Anyiko Public Relations is a PR company, and we're doing a lot of PR activities, promotional activities for a lot of projects, clients across Africa. I think what makes Anyiko PR stand out is our forte is promoting arts and culture and artists, artistic projects. I just think a lot of other PR people are not doing it properly, and a lot of other PR people are using templates for different people. We customize everything, and I would also love to add that we connect people across, the continent in unique ways.
Right.
So that's a nutshell of what Anyiko PR is. We do production, we do events, we do a lot of events, we do video stuff, like so much. Like we can actually achieve anything anyone wants us to do.
Right.
And I think a proper company that's doing promotions and a proper PR person should be able to do that.
Right.
So whatever somebody wants to do, even there's a new music video coming up by Yemi Alade, we produced the video. I didn't think we could ever do that. I didn't think I could ever do that. So this video is shot in Kenya, in Masai Mara.
And it's interesting because now that you're handling Yemi Alade in terms of publicity as well, how do you convince Yemi that, okay, I can do this job? Because we know the Nigerian market in itself. Savage as can be.
Oh, wow.
There are very many hungry publicists in Lagos and Abuja wanting this account. How did you tell her, okay, sister, hold up, I've got what you need?
Okay, I think for us and for me, what really works is the fact that we have positioned ourselves as a PR company which is specializing in African content in the continent of Africa and also with the forte in East Africa.
Right.
So when we have African stars or stars who want to break in Africa, we sell an East African package.
Right.
So sometimes somebody will approach me and say, I want you to do this in Kenya. I'm going to be like, why don't you just add me 10 shillings? Not 10 shillings. And then we do the whole thing in East Africa. So, you know, that just started as a direction this company was taking in the beginning of, I think, 2017. And it's really pushed the business and it's really pushed the brand. And now we're selling a lot of East African packages. So even that is what appeals to Yemi, you know, because she's like, why don't I just work with this company that's going to push me the whole of East Africa instead of working with someone in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda. And I don't see why we can't do East African packages. I don't see why we can't do East African businesses. I don't see why our industry cannot just expand a bit more to involve the East Africans. You know, there's a lot of money and a lot of things to do across the region. I still don't feel like we are taking advantage of that as much. You know, we are, but we can do more. Because for us, we like run media tours across the region. So like we go to Tanzania all the time, you know, to promote artists there, to Uganda, a lot of the times. So someone who will leave like South Africa, will leave like Nigeria to come to Uganda for us to run your PR there. And that's just because there's probably no Ugandan who's giving a PR package for East Africa. Because it's happened before that we went and ran something in another country, then came back to Kenya. Yeah, and you just fly there, the flights are not so expensive, or you just take a bus.
And it's interesting because you're not only handling artists, you're also handling causes as well. We've seen this hashtag trend from time and again. Some people are like, okay, form ni gani? Form mwenyewe ni gani? Let's talk about that and what the significance is as we draw down 2019, start 2020 as well. What's Form ni gani about?
So Form ni gani is a really interesting project, I would call it, because some people call it a campaign, but I'm saying it cannot be a campaign because what Form ni gani creatives are advocating for is family planning. And family planning is not something that can come and go. Like there's so many other organizations already discussing this, and I just feel like it's something that everyone can take the information depending on what level of your life you are, whether you're a teenager, whether you're like a grown woman like I am, or whether you're in your late 40s, 50s, and even grandparents. So Form ni gani is a group of creatives from Kenya. I would say it's a movement by Kenyans, for Kenyans, advocating for the concept of future planning and contraception. So when Form ni gani started out, we just wanted to have the conversation, first of all, about sex, because it's a taboo for so many people. And so before we get into the heavy stuff, we wanted people to at least talk about it. So we had pregnant men go into town, and they caused quite a stir because guys were like, what are pregnant men doing in town? But the question is, what if men got pregnant? You know, would our society think that contraception or family planning is an issue both for men and women? So that's how we started. Until date, we've done a couple of other activities under Form ni gani, like we've had a film come out. We had an exhibition that was done by Boniface Mwangi. We also had like an all-women concert called Form ni Diva. We also had a football tournament called Form ni Ball. And all these activities was just to bring the youth closer so we can have this conversation. The conversation is everybody should know that it's actually your right to have family planning and sexual and reproductive health care because it's in our constitution. The constitution actually says that every Kenyan has the highest right of health, including family planning. But when you look at the national budget, especially for health for every county, very little is put for family planning because it's seen as an issue for the women and for the girls and not for the society or for the men. So we recently put out a report that is called Kenya in 2030, Young Voices on Future Scenarios and Contraception. And this report is just stating that for our country to be successful in the future, for us to have the bright future that we envision, for us to have the national development and agenda that we want to get to, this whole 2030 vision, we really have to put contraception as key, as central, And the question is, how? But that's why everybody should read the report, because every other thing is correlated to contraception. Like even if you look right now, the employment of, the population of Kenya, 74% is like the youth under the age of 35, but the entire status of unemployment is like 80%. So it's the majority of the young people who are unemployed and who are the labor force, right? And there are no jobs. So when there are no jobs, a lot of young people get into stuff like idling around, maybe taking drugs and stuff like that, and you end up getting to behaviors that might lead to unwanted pregnancies, and so more babies, more population. There needs to be a way to stem that cycle. You understand? So it's quite a great report, I feel, and I'm very proud to have been part of the team that put out this report. So I just love what Fomnigan is doing. And even as that might be one of the big projects you're doing as you wind up 2019. Yeah. We're talking about probably a sneak peek of what 2020 has for Anyiko PR, but just looking at her journey in terms of a PR specialist, a PR guru. You've handled quite a bit of clients on your plate. You know, you've from the most deafs to the nasty C's to the King Kakas to Yemi Alade to Major Lazer. To Major Lazer. I'm proud about that. All Shifa, absolutely amazing stuff. Which artist or which project gave you the real sleepless night? As you look back, you're like, wow, that one, how I came out of that alive, wow. I am having sleepless nights a lot, and I think not because of a particular project, but I'm just always afraid, like, oh my God, I don't want us to fail on this. I think Sauti Sol must have given me the most sleepless nights. Like I never used to sleep. When we released like content, I would be awake like for 3 days. It's just like, and then that time I was also doing the social media, so I was like responding to everybody. I think I'm just too thorough, and that time wasn't a really great time for me because I never used to sleep. But then later on, when they became like famous, you know, we got a lot of money, and so they could afford an office and other people to come and assist. But like from the beginning, I was just doing all the work by myself, and it was a lot of crazy nights. I remember my sister sometimes coming in the morning and finding me, like she left me on the comp, and then she finds me there and she's like, you need to sleep. And she would just be like, do you think like they care that you're doing all this, you know? But I don't know. I mean, I think they care, but the thing is, it's just not easy to build a brand, and I didn't know where we're going with them, and I don't regret anything I did. That's how we became Sauti Sol and they became Sauti Sol. It was a lot of sleepless nights. And even with those sleepless nights, because they were still your boys, they were still your friends, and one thing that's always tricky to discuss, it's the money talk. Yeah. You know, because we are boys, you know, we don't have the money, but you're doing sleepless nights. Yeah. How did that money convo go around? And you're still new as well. Yeah. So you don't know how to place your rates. It went okay. I mean, we were not really discussing money from the beginning because I knew they didn't have the money. And I knew if they got any money, there would be 4 of them and they would have to, I don't know, pay for a video and stuff. So I actually never got paid by Sauti Sol for the first 5 years that I worked with them. And I worked with them for 10 years, and I only got my first payment when they had their previous manager who left. When Marek came on board, he actually told them, are you guys kidding me? Like, you've not been paying this chick. So I wasn't even getting paid, and I didn't even think like, oh, I could get paid. And that's what they actually say about, you know, doing what you love, you know, following your passion. You know, if you do, somehow, some way, the monies will come, and another opportunity will come. For instance, there's still some free work even a publicist of my nature can still be doing, because I know that I'm doing this, I'm not getting paid, but I'm getting paid in a certain way, or it's publicizing me, and like even this interview is publicizing me. So I'm not being paid by K24, but hopefully after this I'm going to get a call and someone will be like, oh, I saw you with Jeff and I want you to do this. So I think as young people, you know, hustling in this town, in this industry, we need to be smarter than just waiting for somebody to give you money to do something. You know, what can you do with your talent? How can you showcase what you can do for other people to see you and tap you? So I think in the beginning, I invested a lot in them, and it's really paid back. Very briefly, even as we come to the tail end, let's talk about your fusion with art and also fashion as well. We can see that piece you have, of course, very authentically Kenyan as well. Really came through on that. And there's a blend you found right there. We have a couple of pictures that are scrolling on screen as well. What's the blend between art and fashion and Anyiko PR? How does that play? I feel like at the heart of Anyiko, I'm very into culture. I don't know if I can say I'm cultural, but I just love culture. You know, I like different, and culture is different things. Like it's a way of life. It's different people, it's different tribes, it's different paraphernalia together. So I like to travel a lot, and even when I travel, I like to immerse, engage with the culture of the people. So if I go to other countries, I want to buy like their jewelry and stuff like that, and I want to know what it means. So this has always been me. I'm very much into Kenyan beads, Kenyan ornaments, and a lot of times people say, oh, you're very Kenyan or very African, but I don't think I'm very Kenyan.
There you go.
Yeah, that's me. So I don't think I'm very Kenyan or very African, but I'm just being authentic to who I am. You know, we're all very Kenyan, we're all very African. And all these things, you just get them at Masai Market. Well, these particular ones, I got them from the Masai village in Masai Mara, and they're running this project for women called Ushanga Project. And I love that story, you know, the women in the village, you know, making these from there and selling them to tourists and at least making some money. So I wanted to support what they're doing, and I applaud them. Yeah.
Okay, and even as we talk about that, I'll be winding up 2019. 2020, I'm sure your mind is already clicking. Where do we go to next as Anyiko PR? What's happening there? Definitely.
So we're doing a big event end of January. It's probably going to be on the 30th or 31st. It's going to be a Fomnigani event. So Fomnigani launched a competition for university students called the Ideathon. And we're tasking university students to come up with the best solutions as to how Kenya can get to its optimum level in terms of placing contraception as key for development by 2030. So if you read this particular report that we released, there's a scenario called Uwakilishi, which is people-centric, which brings different stakeholders together to run the contraception field and also write down the policies together. So we're doing a finale event for the best university students, January 30th or 31st. I'm really excited about this because for the first time, we're giving the baton over to the students. We think you have the brightest ideas. So if you're watching and you haven't participated in the Ideathon, they can go to fomniganikenya.co.ke for all the information. And this is something big we're doing January. The other thing we are doing with Boomplay Music is going to be really huge for the industry in Kenya. You know, we've been doing the Play Kenyan music campaign throughout the year, not we, but everyone. So there's something we've been working with Boomplay Music, and hopefully this is going to drop. It's going to be really great.
Okay, so people should watch out for that big one.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic stuff. And for the people who probably are thinking, okay, I want to get into PR or publicity, don't know how to do that, I'd like to, you know, have that convo with you, probably on the DM or on the side. Where can they get you in the social media space? Okay,
they can get me on my personal social media. I'm Anyiko Owoko, 1 O in the middle. That's me on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, even YouTube. I'm very consistent. Like my brand is very, what you see is what you get. The same thing with Anyiko PR. It's Anyiko PR all across. All our emails are online. My personal email for work, our office phone, the directions to our office there.
It's all there.
Yeah, so just come through.
Okay, fantastic stuff. And at least I do know, because we've worked with a couple of people from Anyiko PR, they know how to handle business.
They do?
Done a good job.
They do?
Yes, they do.
Watapata increase.
Bonus in 2019.
Yeah, December.
Cheza kawe. Thank you so much, Anyiko,
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story, and of course, more power as you take arts and culture to the world.
I appreciate, thank you.
Asante sana. And of course, Bien Savara tumesikia 5 years without pay, guys. What? Anyiko, of course, Owoko talking about her journey in PR, and it's just started. She takes it further and pushes those boundaries as far as that game is concerned. We take a short break. We're back with plenty more. This is K24 This Morning.